And I am live. I'm live. It is what is it? Sunday, December 7th. Is not today a day that we're living in for me? Is it December 7th? I don't remember. Anyway, I am home. This is another stationary stream, another Sunday night stream because I didn't really go anywhere today. They offered me a job down to Newport News, Virginia, which is 380 miles one way. So for me to go get the piece and to go do the job and then come back would be like an 800-mile day. And it's like, tomorrow's my day off. That's my 6th day of the week. I'm not doing 800 miles. I generally don't want to do that kind of mileage. 800 miles is too far to go. I don't get paid enough. So I was like, no, I'll pass on that. And then they called me with some little local job. They said, we really need this done. And so I did it because I know that later on in the week, the dispatcher is going to remember that I did him a favor, and he will find a way to do me a favor. Anyway, it's the end of the year. There's not a whole lot. Everybody's waiting on, I don't know, something else to happen. It's Christmas, like everything's kind of on hold, I guess, until then. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot going on. So what do we got? Virgil Doc, Purple Heart. How is the new phone working? Good evening, sir. Welcome to the show. New phone's fine. I don't have any problems with it. I actually have a video that a telephone video. Man, you must be like, you must have psychic powers or something like that. You must be trans-channeling the entire internet. This first video I'm going to play, I'm going to jump right into it. First video we're going to play, just to show the synchronicity of Virgil Doc's question with the video I happen to pick. I think this is kind of funny.
Israel has banned Chinese phones. Just last week, the Israel Defense Forces issued a regulation requiring senior officers to use only iPhones. Supposedly for security reasons, of course. Interestingly, why only iPhones? Because Israel is capable to control iPhones, but can't control Chinese brand phones? Should Apple sue Israel? Isn't this damaging Apple's reputation globally? Basically, they are implying Apple is a collaborator of genocide or Zionism, and conversely, shouldn't Chinese phone brands be paying the IDF for advertising? Because Israel's ban is actually the best possible security endorsement. Funny enough, Samsung is also banned. Does this mean the IDF's intelligence capabilities have declined so much that they can't even control South Korean devices anymore? Will South Korea get real independence soon from the United States as a colony? But here's the twist, 85% of iPhones are manufactured in China, and they only buying the 15% that aren't made in China. Doesn't this suggest that Israel mainly relies on Apple's software for intelligence operations? Since the software isn't made in China, follow me an Eastern perspective to see the world.
The thing about a limited hangout, if you're familiar with the term, is someone says, oh, we're going to talk about this forbidden subject and that forbidden subject, but they really it's a very tightly controlled conversation, and you're not allowed to say whatever you want. You're not really allowed free speech. It's a limited hangout, and that's what I titled tonight's stream. Couldn't think of anything earlier, but I thought of that title at the last minute. And that Chinese guy, the way the Chinese are fucking trolling the West is fucking unreal. I sit here and I think these motherfuckers they're just punching away. They're like slamming away, just dropping fucking bomb after bomb after bomb. And, what does Western propaganda have in response? The myth of the social credit score. I don't know, that they eat dogs and cats. And there's probably still some areas where they eat dogs and cats, but probably less than they did a year ago, and certainly less than they did 10 years ago. But this guy says that 80, you can only use an iPhone, and iPhones are all made in China anyway. So maybe Apple does have a software switch. that allows the IDF or the Unit 8200 or whoever to tap your iPhone. But my understanding was, and maybe this is just for desktops. My understanding is most of these back doors that the government and intel agencies use to get into your device are on the hardware level. That's my understanding. I don't, whether or not that's true, I'm not sure. But there was a thing. Somebody was complaining that the big electrical transformers that utilities use to send power out into neighborhoods, the big transformers are all made in China, and they have they got some Chinese spyware on them or something like that. And they're like, why are we allowing the Chinese to do this? And the reason why is because the Chinese built it cheaper with a fatter profit margin for the elites than you could build it in America. America used to build all that shit on its own back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, until the 70s. And then the people in charge of America decided to, ship every job overseas. And one of those jobs was building electrical transformers for the power grid. Now our power grid is a pathetic, rusty old fucking, collection of wires relative to what the Chinese are doing. So they are, they're actually, really, I guess, essentially in the decades they've had, being subservient to the West, then now they're like, hey, you know what? They're really sensing their power. They're really getting a sense of this. Those guys last week saying, the Chinese government, if they issue a lot of government bonds, they could put a check on the Federal Reserve, which maybe, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to be starving and homeless, right? People think I say that just to be hyperbolic, but nobody wants to be starving and homeless. And you say, well, the people you're talking about, James, are the private jet people. I know because I delivered the parts for that private jets. Which, by the way, Teterboro was fucking crazy busy today. I don't know where they're all coming and going from. But the point is, those people are saying, well, they're never going to be starving and homeless. That's true, but, perception with them is reality. Absolutely, perception is reality. So if they can't get, whatever, another mansion or support yacht for their support yacht, they think the world's coming to a fucking end, and they'll they'll twist things around so that it's it's not their fault, even though they're the stupid boss that shipped everything overseas. I just remembered that years and years ago, like after the 2008, 2009 real estate crash. I was in the title insurance business back then, believe it or not. But that crashed, and the people in the industry told me it was going to crash. I actually went to the school in New Jersey, in Millburn, New Jersey, got my license, and went to work for the guy who owned the school, who sadly died from esophageal cancer, like in a month, from diagnosis to being dead. But that was after I was gone. Anyway, the thing is, what was the point I was going to make? I went to work for a survey company, right? And the survey company, there was entry level fucking wages. I think it was for working for $15 an hour. And I'm like, well, I'll start at $15 an hour drawing survey maps, and I'll get a raise, and I'll blah, 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 blah. Of course, it was bullshit. They weren't going to give me a raise. And I was doing a ridiculous amount of work. But I had found out that they had tried to outsource the drawing of survey maps in the New York City area to India. Like, these Indians would claim that they knew all kinds of shit that they didn't know. And survey maps, particularly in the New York City area, they're so fucking detailed with levels upon levels of fucking shit. There's so much stuff you got to include there for legal purposes, because New York lawyers will rip everything apart, one way or another. So you got to load it up with all this information. historical information, what the fucking road was called in the fucking 1800s, and then how the farm was split up, and blah 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 blah, and how many lots and which lot number you're at. It's a whole fucking tons of shit. You gotta have all that listed. You don't have to show it as a diagram, but you have to all have that listed. And but this company was a company that you wouldn't have. I think they all ended up retiring. But they had big federal contracts too, not just residential shit. They tried to get people to draw survey maps on a computer from India. Like everybody's looking for. Everybody wants it on the cheap. Like everybody wants it on the fucking cheap, and that's just the way it is. And the world you live in, right, is a world where people who create no value get all of the benefit, right? They always want to tell you that Jeff Bezos is a fucking bold risk taker, and Mark Zuckerberg is, he went out there on his own and started Facebook and whatever. It's all bullshit. And nothing could be further from the truth. The closer you are to risk, the closer you are to failure. And these people, not only have they never failed, but they just succeed ever higher, ever higher, ever higher. And so somebody made a great analogy, which was about the taxi business. The guy with the most risk is the taxi driver, right? He could get into an accident. He could get robbed. He could get a speeding ticket, like all the risk, and he gets the least reward. You don't want to be the taxi driver. You want to be the guy who owns the taxi fleet, But even then, you don't want to be the guy that owns the taxi fleet. You want to be the guy that licenses the taxis in that city, But better than that is the guy who has the app who people use to call the taxis, right? And then better than that, you want to be the venture capitalist who pitches the idea of the taxi app to the private jet crowd. You know what I mean? The further you are from risk, the greater the reward. The closer you are to shit, something could go fucking wrong here, and then I got to handle it. The lower the reward, and this is the world we live in. And so for you to sort of what's the word I want to use, for you to absorb that and then reflect that in the world, that's pretty normal. So everybody's looking to get over. Everybody's looking to get something for nothing, or get something really valuable and give very little value in exchange. And that's the way the world's set up, and that's why things are as fucked up as they are. And it's really hard for people to think of it different, that it's ever going to be different. It's like you cannot fucking imagine that. And when I sit here and talk about the stuff I talk about, you probably think it sounds kind of utopian. It sounds a bit quixotic. But if you're not tilting at windmills, what are you doing? What are you doing with your time? What are you doing with your time? By the way, it turns out most of the shit I say eventually fucking happens. Eventually happens, and I end up being right a hell of a lot more than being wrong, and that's fun. What was this? Did you hear the connections of the leadership to the murder of a huge movie star a few weekends ago that was recorded and released online? The murder of a movie star? What movie star got murdered? Virgil, Doc, what are you talking about? A movie star got murdered? I don't know. A movie star got murdered. I know everybody's trying to kill Candace Owens, but I don't think I don't know that any movie star. What movie star got murdered? To continue with you're always being gaslit. Jeff Bezos's blog, the Washington Post. And this is not a newspaper written by regular people. You know what I mean? I guess this is, to comfort the people who own the grocery stores, who are ripping off the American public. Actually, today's food prices are a bargain. And I underline where it says, buying, somebody from Twitter says, actually buying your groceries on the buy now, pay later proves you are thriving. This constant gaslighting, man. You're never ever going to get away from it, and it's tough to for the people that notice this stuff and make jokes about it, I appreciate them to no fucking end, because it's stuff that I would never think of, right? I don't know who this person is, but this is also a screenshot from Twitter. What's considered trashy if you're poor, but classy if you're rich? And the answer is day drinking, speaking 2 languages, hard drugs, and tax avoidance. You know what? There may not be a comedian who can do a 20-minute fucking set on stage at I don't know, the Improv in LA, but they got a couple of good singers. They got a couple of good singers. A huge star. Oh, the Chinese killed a movie star, one of their own movie stars. Oh, I didn't know. I don't know about that. I don't follow Chinese cinema. I'm just curious about. China's interest to me is that it is America's main geopolitical rival, and that they're running their economy differently than ours. And what they call frenemies, half friend, half enemies. We're frenemies. I don't know. It's like a Gen Z word, but what we do and what they do, and how that interaction. That's what interests me. But culturally in China, I'm not super interested in what goes on in China, other than how it could possibly affect what America does. If they hold back the rare earths so that we can't build missiles to give to Israel to bomb Gaza, that's interesting. But we can't even make the chips or whatever the fuck we need here in America to run the AI data centers. If they can slow that down by holding back some of these rare earth items, and my understanding is rare earths are actually not rare. It's a byproduct. Here's another perfect example. Rare earths are a byproduct of aluminum processing. Processing bauxite ore into aluminum has all this waste, and all the waste are the rare earths. Okay, we don't do it anymore because it's too energy intensive. We didn't want to expend the energy, but China's like, fuck it, we don't give a shit, and they went full steam ahead. So they do all the aluminum processing, turning the bauxite into useful aluminum, and they get all the excess waste or the rare earth stuff. So they get 2 for the price of 1, and we lost for everything that Wall Street gained by getting a fatter profit margin, having the slave labor or the semi-slave labor of China make all the aluminum products. They lost the high profit, high tech rare earths trade. We don't have that anymore, and we're definitely trying to make it up. But my understanding is it'll be 15 to 20 years before we could make it up here in the U.S. And there's no other game outside of China for this. Not that can produce the quantities that we need. Like Australia can produce 2% or 3%. America can produce 2 or 3%, but that still means we're falling like 96% short of the goals of what we supposedly need for this. So yeah, that interplay, how that works out, that's super interesting to me, because the future is definitely fucking coming. And the future is going to be absolutely nuts. And I mean, like, where's I'll tell you, where's the one? They all bend the knee. Here's how they all fucking bend the knee, right? They're bending the knee, of course, to Bitcoin. This is the biggest deal because this comes from Vanguard. Everybody knows about BlackRock. Vanguard just as big. Vanguard hated Bitcoin. Their CEO said they'd never allow the Bitcoin ETF for sale in the Vanguard mutual fund universe. That guy got fired. A new guy got put in. And lo and behold, 2 years later, Vanguard says now all of the Vanguard clients can now buy the Bitcoin ETF. Every knee shall fucking bend. Okay. They said they were never going to do it. And that was a bad fucking idea. Never say never, boys. Never say never. And this is a bigger deal than you think, because I don't think supposedly they're the most conservative people in the world. Additionally, this was another crazy psycho fucking Bitcoin prediction that sovereign wealth funds, which are the mutual funds of entire countries, right? BlackRock CEO Larry Fink revealed that multiple sovereign wealth funds have been buying Bitcoin price dips. You are now competing with nation states, okay? Nation states are getting interested, and that should interest you, you know? And nation states are price insensitive. They don't care if it's 120,000 or 80,000. They don't give a fuck. They're coming in, they're going to buy X amount, and they're going to hold it for 20 fucking years. Okay, so let's see. Virgil Doc, big Chinese heartthrob was tortured and brutally murdered online. Wow. It involved gay control of their entertainment industry, turning all the stars become literally slaves to their bosses. Yeah, you know what? There's in terms of comedy, there's a Chinese female comedian. What the fuck is her name? Xiao Ming, something like that. I don't know. She's not really not that funny. But I saw her, she was on somebody's podcast, and she claimed that the Korean K-pop boy bands were started by a Japanese record executive who raped all those kids, but he made them famous, and they just never even said anything. So, like, that's just the price of fame. It appears that the price of fame is you will be violated. That appears to be the entry fee to that world. But supposedly all of the K-pop, so Korea, and it's Korea. You're saying China, but this just may be the way it is. Like that's just the way it is. So maybe AI, maybe real movie stars and singing stars going away, and AI taking its place will ultimately be a better thing for the youth of the world, right? That'll be better because you won't have kids getting raped. Because for every successful K-pop band, I guarantee there's 20 fucking groups that never made a nickel, but they got raped anyway. And speaking of child rape, we got a ton of child rape stuff. This is the #1 podcaster on the planet Earth, Candace Owens. They have messages from says we need to blackmail her, Candace Owens. This is Mary Barr, right? Former senior Department of Justice official, daughter of former Attorney General Bill Barr, and daughter of Donald Barr, the former OSS officer who wrote a book about a planet ruled by oligarchs who like to rape children. And so the Barr family still, going out there doing their best to protect the child rapists, right? They're literally using whatever tools, I don't know what tools the DOJ has at their disposal, but they're having trouble with that black chick who's really not going along with the program. And the limited hangout thing, this is why for people like Candace Owens, who you got to admit she's a pretty ballsy chick, running around saying stuff like this will always get a bigger audience than the crap that they're saying. I'll show you back to back black women's.
And they believe that you your kids when they're 7, but you don't tell them why they're until they're 35. It's kind of from the Book of the Dead in Egypt, really. But they their kids, and Sigmund Freud discovered that the reason that they do this is Sigmund Freud's work, is because it conditions the child to grow up to be a psychopath because of what they have to go through trying to understand why their parents did this. This is all real. This is not, all of these authors are Jewish. They support the Jewish movement. The second author, David Bakan, I think actually regrets writing his book because he thought it was going to be this like expose of, why the Jews in Europe should be sympathized for.
That will grab a lot of ears. Talking about movie stars, the guy she's talking to used to be a movie star. He was almost a movie star. He was in 1 or 2 movies, and then they They kicked him out of Hollywood. I don't know. I can't remember what the guy. He was in a funny movie where he played what the fuck was he played? He played a burned out rock star. It was like Get Him to the Greek, where some nerdy Jewish dude who was into music had an idea. Let's go dig up this old British rock star and get him to come do a 20-year anniversary concert. And the comedy of the movie is he has to go to England and get this crazy drug addict to the Greek Theater in LA to do a performance of blah 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 blah. I can't remember what the guy's name is, but it was kind of a funny movie. So that's Candace Owens talking about sex by 8 or it's too late, as the pedophiles say. And now you know where that phrase came from. But understand the people who are doing this, they're 100% in control, and they're laughing at you because you don't have any power to stop them.
Michelle Obama's got a podcast.
At least she's leaning into the name, calling it Big Mike, M-I-C. That's funny. That's a funny name. Yes, Mike podcasting.
Big Mike, M-I-C.
The Big Mike Hour.
She has a Big Mike in it.
So there you go. Michelle Obama has a podcast called Big Mike. You don't have any power to stop them, to slow them down. Nobody loses their job. Nobody goes to jail. They control everything from top to bottom. And the reason why is because they control the fucking money. And when I showed that video last week of this guy talking about Ben Franklin, this guy.
Because, according to Franklin, England had ruined their economy to keep America from becoming too prosperous.
When he was ambassador to England.
So, and when I sit here and I've criticized Ben Franklin in the past because, supposedly after the Constitution was written, he was walking back to wherever the fuck he was walking back to, and some tavern wench said, "Oh, what have you brought for us, Mr. Franklin?" And he said, "A republic, madam, if you can keep it." Why she had to keep it and Ben Franklin didn't want to fucking keep it, like he's not having any part in the fighting. And famously, he was a sex degenerate. But he knew what the Bank of England was trying to do, and I assume other founding fathers also knew, and they didn't build any protections in for that. And it just shows you that smart people have enormous fucking blind spots. This is selective attention. They can look directly at the problem and get the exact wrong fucking diagnosis and not come up with a good solution to make sure it doesn't happen again. Virgil Doc in the chat. The murder recording showed him begging for his life and pleading for his mother not to worry. Wow, that's pretty cruel. But to be fair, the Chinese cruelty is legendary. I mean, waterboarding, the 21st century super torture, was actually done routinely done in Shanghai. The Chinese did that to each other all the time. They also used to have a method of capital punishment that was really fucking sick. They would make people kneel, right? They would make you kneel next to a post. There'd be a wooden post behind you. You would kneel. There'd be a hole in the post, and they would put like a leather strap through the post and put that around your neck. And then they would have like a stick that they would tighten the strap around your throat. So you're pinned up on your knees up against this post, and they would crank that strap and leave it there for like an hour, and then come back and crank it again in another hour, and they would slow strangle people. Those were Chinese method of capital punishment, and waterboarding was their interrogation technique. So that's waterboarding comes from China. And I read that in a book about the Shanghai Municipal Police Force in the 20s and 30s. But so yeah, that the Chinese show let's say an affinity for physical cruelty. Yeah, not super surprising. Not really super surprising at all. So yeah, it doesn't doesn't surprise me that they would do that. That they would do something like that. Look at all the stuff I got here. Man, I got a bunch of things. Yeah, fucking Big Mike. Okay. Speaking of Chinaman, let's continue. Today, Virgil Doc, you were segueing us. You are the master segue, dude. Everything that you're putting in the chat. Speaking of Chinaman, China versus the Jews. China versus the Jews on stage. What are you talking about, James? It's China versus the Zionists. It's really the CIA versus the Zionists. CZ, Changpeng Zhao, the former CEO of Binance, which I claim, and this is just my claim, that Binance was the CIA front company used to send Bitcoin around the world to pay their little minions to do all the CIA shit. Did a stage debate, on stage debate between Peter Schiff, a Jewish guy who sells gold, he sells shiny yellow rocks to boomers and frightened people, and CZ, and they had a little exchange on and this is they had a long debate, but this is a quick 41 seconds of CZ, who's arguing for Bitcoin, versus Peter Schiff.
It has some, I think it's Kyrgyz language. I took it back from Kyrgyzstan. He has a certificate. I got this from a very important person from Kyrgyzstan. Very recently, just completely by luck. So we take it out. It's pretty heavy. I'll put this down. You can see, like it says, Kyrgyzstan, 1,000 grams, fine gold, 99.9.9, and a serial number. Try it.
Yes. Yeah, it's heavy.
Is it real gold or no?
Well, I don't know. I mean, is this what you're trying to?
So that was a joke. Is it real gold or is it not real gold? You can put it in your hand and you don't know if it's real gold or not. Okay. CZ, like I said, frontman for Binance. Binance was the only corporation that had no headquarters. He lived in Dubai the whole time. He lived in Dubai, the only country with no extradition treaty anywhere, but he voluntarily came to the United States, pled guilty to a list of financial charges, was allowed to keep all his money, did 4 months, 16 fucking weeks in Club Fed, and then gets to go back and enjoy his billions. He's worth 33 billion with the B. Instead of doing this Bitcoin versus gold thing again, it's been done to death. But the point that if I send you Bitcoin right now for whatever reason, you gave me your receiving address and I sent you Bitcoin, you would know for sure that it was Bitcoin because only Bitcoin runs on the Bitcoin network. Okay. Gold, you have no fucking idea. You got to take that bar somewhere. You got to scrape off part of it. You got to drip some chemicals on it. You got to do all this stuff. You got to cut deep enough to make sure that it's gold all the way through. And then you ruin the fucking thing. The point of Bitcoin's superiority to gold is that it's instantly verifiable. And it's the chances of you being cheated in a transaction is zero, you know what I mean, or near zero. And that is what is definitely coming. What is but for some people, I'm gonna go do something. We're gonna be racist now. Let's be racist. I saw this, and for some people, listen, there's nothing you can fucking do for them. There's nothing you can do for them. Here's a guy named Odell Beckham Jr. He's a sports baller. I believe that's a Miami uniform. It used to be the colors of the Miami Dolphins. Talks about the struggles of his $100 million contract, saying it's nearly impossible to build generational wealth with $100 million contract. And if you think that screenshot is an exaggeration, it's not.
My account right here today, as we speak, I'm gonna be straight for the rest of my life. No question, right? I don't think everybody is in that. And when you've sacrificed your whole life to get here, and you're like, yeah, I played 10 years in the league, And I always explain this to people, like, bro, you give somebody a 5-year, $100 million contract, right? What is it really? It's 5 years for 60. You're getting taxed. Do the math. That's 12 a year, that you have to spend, use,
Save,
invest, flaunt, like whatever, however, just being real. I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna give my mama a house, I'm gonna do, everything costs money. So if you spending $4 million a year, that's really 40 million over 5 years, 8 a year, And now you start breaking down the numbers, it's like, that's a 5-year span of where you're getting 8 million. Can you make that last forever? And you always hear the people who ain't us and ain't been in the position, like, oh, well, that would last a lifetime.
The people who ain't us, that's Whitey. That's Whitey. He's a struggling black man with $100 million contract. I, of course, am a privileged white man, working 6 days a week and living in a 1-bedroom apartment in New Jersey. So there are people who cannot live on $12 million a year. They just can't seem to do it. And that $12 million a year is insufficient to pass on any wealth to their children or their grandchildren, which is pretty fucking amazing, because how the fuck did he get where he is? How did he survive before he got the $100 million contract? Just how the fuck did he survive? I don't know. I just don't know. And you can make fun of this guy. You go, oh, 85 IQ sports baller, but more people are like that than you fucking think. And all these people that they put in front of you that they make out to be fucking geniuses, listen, they're all fucking retards. You were born in the right position. You were luckily born into the right family who set you up. You didn't fuck it up too bad. Didn't become a drug addict or whatever. And you managed to fucking show up sober at work long enough for them to make you the fucking CEO. But when you have to try and go do something, and here's the perfect example. This is the guy, I always call him Baldilocks. I can't remember what his real name is. This is the CEO of Coinbase. Coinbase, the largest Bitcoin and shitcoin exchange in America, and the one that the U.S. federal government uses as its market maker. That the price of Bitcoin at Coinbase is what the Securities and Exchange Commission and the CFTC use to determine what the real price of Bitcoin is. Brian Armstrong, that's the guy's name, Brian Armstrong. Here's Brian Armstrong, the super CEO. This is what he's really like behind the scenes before they polish him up to put him in front of the camera.
Coinbase is doing for Bitcoin what iTunes did to the MP3. We're bringing this technology to the masses and commercializing it. So how's it going? Coinbase launched 5 weeks ago and has grown 20% a day since
I would
then.
skip the how's it going.
Okay.
Just say, Coinbase launched, just like, pow, take them through it.
Okay.
It's a very commanding talk, so you don't need a lot of whoopee transitions.
Okay. Coinbase launched 5 weeks ago and has grown 20% a day.
You should emphasize that, a day. Because usually when people say has grown, right, 20%, that's followed by a week or a month, right? 20% a day. Okay. You should say that. 20% a day, not month, day.
Okay. Coinbase launched 5 weeks ago and has grown 20% a day. Transaction volume has grown at a similar rate, and we've already processed $65,000 worth of customer Bitcoin payments.
So he doesn't even know how to give a presentation. He's the CEO who doesn't know how to give a presentation. He doesn't know how to give a speech and pause to emphasize. He's never had to do that. He's never had to perform before. Everything's been handed to him, right? That was the videos from 2012. They're saying Coinbase launched that it's growing 20% a day, and it was. For those of you that are keeping score, when Coinbase first started selling Bitcoin, Bitcoin was $5 each. $5 for one Bitcoin. But today it's $90,000. And all they did was sell them. They couldn't sell them fast enough, right? And get the fiat, get the US dollar. They kept none for themselves. They kept none for the company. They kept none for themselves. Now, Bitcoin's $90,000, and they're desperately trying to fucking to get hold to acquire as much as they can. And Peter Schiff, by the way, Peter Schiff, more than Brian Armstrong, was told about Bitcoin when it was $1. No shit. Peter Schiff, the guy with the gold bar thing, was told about Bitcoin when it was $1, and he passed. And he passed. But all these people you see, they look polished and smooth. They're the CEO. You should look up to them. They went to Harvard. They did this. They did that. They're a bunch of spastic fucking losers that somebody who actually has the skill to make a presentation has to sit there and go, no, stop. Has to direct them, right? Like they become the star on the financial television. But, somebody has to create that star, has to direct that star. And of course, somebody dresses them and blah, 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 blah. But this guy cannot speak to a group and articulate his ideas. Why this Bitcoin thing is valuable. And he's not even really talking about Bitcoin. He's talking about Coinbase as a company. Coinbase as a company is growing 20% a day, 20% transaction volume per day. And that's why you should be excited about Coinbase. He's not really, like I said, not really a Bitcoiner, because Bitcoin is just the bridge to him getting more dollars. All right. That's Brian Armstrong, who you can see is bald, and I don't know why, but they call him Baldilocks, which is good because you can see he's really not everything they crack him up to be. They always make them out to be way fucking more than they really are. So that's, and to fit in with that, where's this thing? See if I can do this the right way. No, nobody cares about that. Speaking of which, here we go. The Coinbase advisor, Kevin, what's his name, Hassett, is the favorite to be the next Federal Reserve chair. This matters a lot. The next chairman of the Federal Reserve is going to be so pro-crypto that he used to work at Coinbase. And this is a big fucking deal. This is a phenomenally big deal because the digital dollar or stable coins are going to rule the fucking earth. And where's an example of it? Where is my example of it? Here we go. Wait, I think hold on a second. Wait a minute. Yeah, I got it.
This guy just sold me local currency for double the official rate, and he's not the only one I can buy from. These informal money traders are everywhere in Bolivia. So what's going on here? Bolivia's foreign reserves have collapsed from $15 billion a decade ago to just over $50 million today. The country is literally running out of dollars, and bank card spending abroad is capped at $100 per month. So if you're a business trying to pay foreign suppliers, you have to find a way to survive. So businesses in Bolivia are turning to stablecoins, where digital asset transaction volume has grown over 500% in the past year. Take Agro. They're a 30-year-old company that imports agricultural products, and they're making up to 15 peer-to-peer trades on Binance every month. And Hafet, he uses his stablecoin-linked credit card to import from Alibaba. This is what stablecoin adoption looks like in the real world, filling the gap for a country that desperately needs dollars. Watch the full story on YouTube.
So Bolivia can't do business unless they use stablecoins because they don't have any dollars. Where did all the dollars go? Doesn't make a fucking difference. Right? The government controls this and the government controls that, whatever. You need stable coins, digital tokens issued by a few companies that promise to back up their digital tokens with by buying U.S. Treasury bonds. That's already the way it's working in Bolivia, and that's the way it's going to work around the world. Stable coins are going to, all the fucking third world countries are all just going to do stable coins. They're just going to do stable coins. Whatever their local currency is will be forgotten, and, all of Africa. And then it's going to be a battle between the stable coins versus the Chinese yuan. I've said this before. Those two are going to battle it out. Those two giants will be battling it out on the world stage, and Bitcoin will grow up between them because no one will be paying attention. Or When I say no one will be paying attention, you won't be paying attention. Most people will be watching the Big Mike podcast or God knows what. In the meantime, America is going to spend $800 million to advance nuclear power at the Tennessee Valley Authority. If you do not understand that the fucking future is all about nuclear power and all about electric everything, then I can't help you. If you really think that we're going to Venezuela for the oil, everyone says we're going to Venezuela for the oil. America doesn't need their oil. America has like 350 fucking years worth of oil in Texas alone. We have more oil than we know what the fuck to do with. The price of oil the price of fucking beef has gone through the fucking roof because you can't grow any more cows. But the price of fucking oil has fallen because there's literally an ocean of fucking oil underneath the fucking dirt in America. So we're not going to Venezuela. Everybody knows we're not going to Venezuela for the oil. We're going to Venezuela because Maduro openly criticizes fucking Israel. You have to be able to see what it's really about. Everyone's going to believe it's about the oil. It's about the oil. Nobody gives a shit about the fucking oil. Nobody cares about the fucking oil. And nobody cares about the fucking gold because you can't trade gold very fast. Bolivia is not increasing its gold reserves. It's just trading with fucking stable coins. I need something that I can pay you with today and I can get my fucking shit. And if I'm going to send you something, I want to be paid with something worthwhile today. And that's stable coins, and they got to be this fucking fast around the world. And that's what the fucking future looks like it or fucking not. Like it or not. And I can't remember if I showed this last week or not, but Bank of America, the largest bank in America, I think by the number of branches. I don't think they have the most money, but by the number of branches, their private wealth clients now suggesting or endorsing a 1 to 4% allocation to digital assets for their wealth management clients. So telling rich people to buy Bitcoin. They're not telling them to buy, they might be telling them to buy stable coins to jump in and out of Bitcoin to trade it. I doubt they would do that, but they're most definitely telling them buy Bitcoin. That's what you should be doing. Yes, you're competing with the wealthy clients of Bank of America. Yes, you're competing with the sovereign wealth funds. And you're in competition with people who have enormous advantages over you. And that's not really fair, but that's the way fucking life is. That is the way life is. What do I got? Jensen Huang over here? What's he doing? Jensen Huang. Oh, yeah, this was, I meant to say this a couple of weeks ago. Jensen Huang stated that China and Huawei are way ahead in AI due to their open source approach, despite the U.S. Leading in cutting-edge models. He also highlighted China's rapid infrastructure development and energy capacity as its advantages. Yeah, energy capacity, back to the nuclear thing. But the reason why Chinese AI is better than American AI is because Chinese AI knows that Big Mike is Big Mike. You know what I mean? Whereas you can't say that in America, right? You just can't say that in America. You cannot point out the truth, and that's what holds back our AI. You can't train AI to look at shoplifting, right? Videos of people shoplifting, and then say, "Okay, super smart AI, tell us how to stop shoplifting." And AI says, "Don't let black people into your store." Yo, no, you can't say that. It's racist. So AI is like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? So you tell it to solve a problem, and then it goes to whatever the logical way to solve the problem is. This, people with this characteristic do this behavior that we don't like. Okay, but you can't notice that characteristic. And this is all the limited Hangout shit. How bad is it? Everyone's favorite Fed, Nick Fuentes, has, and they're still going to build him up. But this is the nature. This is the nature of limited hangouts. When someone controls what you say and when you say it and how you say it, you end up saying stupid shit like this.
Do you believe the Jews killed Charlie Kirk? That's one of the conspiracies out there right now. What's your position on that?
I don't believe that. As it stands right now, I think it was Tyler Robinson.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Me too.
So Nick Fuentes, who's built his reputation saying that every time a bird falls off a branch onto the ground dead, that a Jew pushed it, right? That's his whole brand. That's like, hey, did Israel kill Charlie Kirk? No, I don't think so. I think it was the guy who, who they have no fucking evidence against. That's a limited hangout. By the way, under that relay, you look at the number of people, the number of true believers, and that I guess there was a fair number of them really thought that Nick Fuentes was. Everybody falls for this fucking follow the hero thing. They did it for Richard Spencer. They're doing it for Nick Fuentes. They'll do it for the next guy after this. Nobody's coming to rescue you. You're not following your glorious leader to fucking battle the evil forces and win. I don't know if that's something from fucking video games or whatever, or however they hook these kids in, but that video knocked the stars out of the eyes of many a young groiper. I was like looking to just scrolling through the comments, and so that was heartening. It was heartening because sooner or later you got to run into that. So Candace Owens, lover or hater, whatever you think of her, it's just like fucking like Britney Spears, right? I know Britney Spears is below your aesthetic approval level, that she's not this and that, like, oh, how dare you mention her? She's not an artist. Your aesthetic approval or disapproval, no one gives a shit. But Candace Owens is saying more interesting shit and is going to draw a bigger audience for longer because she's saying stuff that's obviously true and stuff that's interesting. Whereas the Fed boy, and we always knew he was a Fed, he's got to carry water for the official line, for the official narrative. And now he's talking to Steven Crowder, who I don't think was ever a thing, maybe like a little bit in the George Bush era. But he's another influencer that I don't think has any influence. Him and Tim Pool. I think Tim Pool's one step higher than he is. But yeah, he's Steven Crowder's another nobody. But that's where you're forced to go to repeat the fucking the company line. And that is that. And what do we got? I got one more video. I can't remember what the fuck that is. I got two more videos. I got two more. That's the same one twice.
Israel has banned Chinese phone.
All right, be quiet, you fucking Chinaman. Get off my goddamn show. You're worse than this guy. This guy jumps in all the fucking time. Where's the guy that jumps in all the time? Where is he? I'm fucking it up. Now I'm fucking it up.
We print it digitally, so.
Hey, shut up, fucking J Pal. You're on your way out anyway. We're gonna get the Coinbase guy in there, and everything's gonna be great. Everything is gonna be great.
To stand with the Jew?
No, Glenn Beck, we're not doing that. We don't do that anymore. We are not doing that because when we do that, this is what people say about us.
Toby be good nigga for massa. Good nigga.
We don't want to do that. We want to subvert their economic system. Will it happen in our lifetimes? I don't know. Okay. But it's something you can do that's legal, that they can't stop you from. They're doing themselves. Okay. Forget about what they say. Forget about all the drama and the bullshit. Look at what the sovereign wealth funds are doing. Look at what Bank of America is doing. Look what Harvard University is doing. Wells Fargo is doing. Nation states around the fucking world are moving in this direction. You should be smarter than you are, right? You should be smarter than Ben Franklin, right? You have the perspective of history. You can see what mistake Ben Franklin made, and you can avoid making that same mistake yourself. Because what Ben Franklin did was he saw that the bankers of England were looking to control America via currency manipulation, right? Either buying up colonial script or rejecting colonial script entirely and making America pay in gold and silver when America did not have gold and silver. Okay, so he saw them controlling America. Why is America getting so rich? They did not want you to get rich, right? The Bank of England didn't want America to get rich. And so Ben Franklin looked right at the problem and got it wrong because he thought, oh, we'll just give the keys to the money printer to these guys in Congress. Everything will be great. And until you accept the idea that there are no human beings anywhere with your skin color, whether they believe your fairy tale, the same fairy tale as you or not, there's no one, no group of people, no matter what they say, cross their heart, hope to die, stick a needle in their eye, pinky swear, whatever the fuck you think works for you, no one can be trusted with the keys to the money printer. And until you understand that, you're going to be following Nick Fuentes or fucking whomever, wherever, right? And you will not get a very good outcome. You will not ultimately get a very good outcome. And so you got to keep that in mind. You got to keep that in mind, right? No one can be trusted. I cannot be trusted with the keys to the money printer. No one can be trusted with the keys to the money printer. And once you're there, then the rest is relatively easy. It's just a matter of execution, and you don't have to worry like sports ball guy that you're going to limp along on $12 million. And then lastly, I guess this fits kind of with the Nick Fuente stuff. This sort of fits the Nick Fuente stuff.
The way that a Gen Z person might get recruited is, let's just use you as an example. Somebody comes up and says, hey man, I love your podcast. And they say, I have a serious question for you though. Would you consider yourself a patriot? Now I've got you locked into identity. And then I say, well, I have an offer for you, but before I show you anything, I just want you to say yes or no. Would you be willing to entertain the offer? And it might be uncomfortable. Stage one is I show you all of your browsing history, captures from your webcams on all of your phones and computers of you doing the most compromising shit you could ever possibly imagine. And I'd say, I like your podcast. I think you're doing a great job and I want to protect you. I want to keep all this from the public eye. We also want to give you $20,000 a month. So now you feel like you chose all of this. I told you it was going to be stressful and you agreed to it. If you say yes, the reason that you're doing this on your podcast is for your country, because you're not going to call yourself compromised. We have this thing called cognitive dissonance that keeps our brain from thinking I'm a bad person. Even though you're being asked to silence people, not have certain people on the show, leave something out of your podcast, you're telling yourself, and whoever's your handler is telling you this is for the greater good. And you kept Americans safe by doing that. And you'll tell yourself that. And you'll feel good about it.
What happens if I say no?
Comment PSYOP and Jack will send you the entire podcast.
What happens if you say no? You stay stuck in your fucking one-bedroom apartment in New Jersey. Nobody even fucking ever pitched me. But yeah, so that's how it works. You know, you build up an audience and then you sell the audience out to someone, whether that's an advertiser or whoever that is. Whatever that is, you know. If you do culture war stuff, well, then you're going to do culture war stuff, right? But yeah, that's where you are. Trusted third parties are security holes. I'm not sure how many other ways I can say this, but this guy talks about cognitive dissonance. We can't see ourselves as the bad guys. Well, Ben Franklin had cognitive dissonance when he looked at his fellow constitutionalists. He could not see them as ever being weak and easy to compromise, right? Because we're all together and we're fighting those Brits. But you need to overcome that. You need to overcome that in your own life, whatever your cognitive dissonance or selective attention is. That's what you got to do. And like I said, once you've done that, it all becomes easier. And if fucking nothing else, all of the fiat that I've ever turned into Bitcoin, all of it, right, is I have kept from the clutches of the central bankers, right? What they forced me to transact my life in, the dollars that I have to transact my life in, right? What I have left over, I don't have to allow them to steal from me. Okay. I traded it for something else. And in doing that, I dramatically improved everything in my life, whether you understand that or not. That dramatically improved my life. And it will dramatically improve your life. And who knows, maybe you'll hang out with the sovereign wealth pros. Anyway, with that, okay. Don't be a Chinese movie star and don't let people into your house that are going to torture you and kill you. And gay people do this all the time. By the way, gay people, there was a dude, the designer named Versace, years ago. I think this was like, I'm trying to remember, I can't remember what it was. He lived in Florida, Versace, the clothes designer, and he was murdered in his mansion. And people were like, how the fuck did they murder him? P.S. It turns out he had, in the early days of the internet, seduced some, I want to say like fucking 18 or 19-year-old kid from Indiana to come to the Versace mansion. The kid, of course, had been raped at some point. Versace wants an edgy, dangerous, scary sex partner. And so he gets one. And the Indiana kid, had a penchant for knives. And guess what? He stabbed Versace 37 times, or however many times it was. And I suspect that the Chinese movie star bro that Virtual Dog is talking about in the comments was the same way. I suspect that his weakness, his desire for illicit gain, allowed him to open the door to people who were looking to get looking to get off in an entirely different fashion, right? And that guy there was probably everyone except that guy could see it. Probably everyone except around the Chinese movie star could see it, except the Chinese movie star. But this is the nature of cognitive dissonance, and you want to try to overcome that within yourself. That would be a good idea. Anyway, with that, we had a whole bunch of viewers. We had a bunch of viewers. Now they're all gone. But anyway, Virgil Dog, Purple Heart, and everyone else, and the lurkers in the background. Thanks for watching the show. And you Rumble people, fucking smash up the like button, will you? I'm watching the numbers go up, up, up in terms of views on Rumble. Not one of you bastards clicking that like button. It hurts my feelings deeply and profoundly and deeply hurt. Anyway, all right, all the bullshit aside. Virgil Doc and everyone else, thanks for stopping by, guys, and I'll talk to you again next week.